Guys, this is the one. This is the lesson where we do it all together. We're going to have all our stars and all the constellations for those stars. Okay, very excited. I'm going to start by just deleting this test constellation that I was using. And we're going to, in fact, minimize Unity for now because we're going to adjust that instance manager to include our constellation workflow as well, which means that it'll save a lot of generate button clicking, load database button clicking, did I load them in the right order, etc. Okay, so let's have a look at how we do that. We'll go into our scripts, instance manager, and I'm just going to go ahead and add this should be, okay, this database loader, that should be a star database loader. So this is going to be a public star database loader. And I'm going to make it lowercase s's. All right, and then we're also going to have, what do we need? Well, we have our star database loader. Then for each star, we're making a mesh. For each mesh, we're making a prefab. For each prefab, we're instantiating an object. Similarly, we need a constellation loader, and then for each constellation, we'll make a mesh. For each mesh, we'll make a prefab. For each prefab, we'll make an object. So let's go public constellation. It's a constellation database loader. Constellation database loader. And this instance, I'm going to rename that instance to stars instance. Stars instance. Because that's all the stars, and we're also going to have with all the same tags. We're also going to have a constellations instance. Okay, so in fact, how are we going to do this? I'm going to, should we separate it? All right, I'll keep them all as the type. So star instance, constellation instance together, star database, constellation database together, star mesh generator, and constellation mesh generator, public constellation mesh generator, constellation mesh generator. Now this is where it's a bit interesting because the mesh prefab generators are identical. There's no special behavior for star or constellation prefab generators. So this is also going to be a mesh prefab generator, constellation mesh prefab. I'll just call it constellation prefab generator. All right, so we're going to give them all the same treatment. We just need to be a bit careful because the only thing that really matters is we need to load our constellation database after our star database because the constellation database depends on the stars in that star database. So just make sure we do that. Constellation database loader dot load database. I'll just make a little note here. Constellations database must load after star database. All right. Star mesh generator, constellation mesh generator dot generate. Star prefab generator generate, constellation prefab generator dot generate. All right. So this has created our star prefab and our constellation prefab, and we're also going to give our constellation instance the same treatment as a star instance. Okay. So let's see. So we have to copy and paste. If stars instance, let's instead say constellations instance. Okay. I'm going to rename this to star prefab. Star prefab. And we're gonna, oh no, I'm not gonna copy and paste this one because there's too many things I'm gonna just look over and make a mistake with. Okay, var constellation prefab equals asset utility dot get assets at path, type game object. This is a constellation prefab generator dot folder path, and the first index we're going to return. All right, and now our constellation instance is equal to game object dot instantiate constellation prefab vector 3.0 vector 3.0 quaternion dot identity and transform as the parent. Awesome. Now before we press play, there's one more thing we need to remember to do, and that is to add our constellation material to our constellation constellation prefab generator, which doesn't exist yet. Okay, so we have our constellation database loader, our star database loader, our star mesh generator, our constellation mesh generator. The last thing we need to do is create our constellation prefab generator. Okay, asset generators, mesh prefab. Oh yeah, no, that's right. Because I was about to say, where's the constellation prefab generator? But it's the same as a star. Yeah, it's just a mesh prefab generator. So I'm going to rename this to constellation prefab generator. Constellation prefab generator. The folder path. We'll create a new folder called Constellation Prefabs. And that'll be Control-Alt-C to get the folder path. Constellation Prefab Generator, paths in the path. All right, let's start hooking it up. Star Mesh Generator. That's a mistake. See, this is it when you... Isn't it? Why would a constellation prefab generator know about this? Oh, okay. So when I created the mesh prefab generator, I said it's only for star mesh generators, when really we want it to be for any asset generator. Because we want it to be for a constellation mesh generator or a star mesh generator. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to asset generator. Asset generator. This is okay because the only variable that we're using from this file is the folder path, which every asset generator has. So I'm also going to rename that to mesh generator. And that will allow us to pass in the constellation mesh generator. Okay, prefab name, I'm going to call it constellation prefab. Or maybe I just want to call it constellation. I think I just want to call it constellation because otherwise it renders as something prefab. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to rename it to constellation. The prefab name will just be constellation Z. And I'm also going to rename the star prefab generator to stars. Okay, so now in our Starchart instance, let's hook it all up. So we need to attach our constellation database loader. We need to attach our constellation mesh generator. And we also need to attach our constellation prefab generator. Okie dokie, this is it, the moment of truth. I feel like we need like a drum roll or something. Oh, and make sure that it's enabled before I press generate. I'm going to press save. And make sure that it's got a good view. And I'm going to press generate and instantiate. Oh, object reference not sent to an instance of an object. Instance manager. Generate and instantiate prefab at number 3. Okay, what have I missed? Star database loader. I missed the star database loader. I don't know how that happened. Oh well. Attach it on. Generate and instantiate. Oh, nothing. Oh no. What is it? 30 at line 30. Instance manager at line 30. I believe that because there was no instance of this one, maybe? No? Line 30. Star database loader. Wait, or is that an old? That was an old warning. Mesh prefab generator at line 20. Okay, let's have a look. Constellation mesh generator. Oh, I know. Constellation prefab generator. There's no material. That could be it. Oh yeah, you know what? I'm going to be a bit smarter. I'm just going to do it bit by bit and figure out if the constellation in each of those stages are working. Okay, so the constellations are loading. The constellation meshes seem to be loading. Constellation prefab seems to be loading. So now, now I've done that step by step. Hopefully it'll work when we bring it all together. Okay, Starchart instance. Let's have a look. Should delete that one. That shouldn't be there. I think yeah, no, I'll just delete it. We'll start fresh. Okay, generate and instantiate. The third moment of truth. Oh, what is it now? Okay, mesh prefab generator at line 20. This is the same warning. Let's have a look at what is line 20 of the mesh prefab generator. Oh, I know what happened. Because I retyped the mesh generator, our star prefab generator lost the star mesh generator reference. That was a silly mistake. Okay, let's give that another go. Generate and instantiate. Yay! Okay, so now we have a few constellations. All right, it's a little bit topsy-turvy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do our the modern constellation system. It's the constellations that we recognize. Okay, so if I go to my procedural assets, constellation database loader, and change Maori to Western in the folder path, and then if I go ahead and reinstantiate it, if I spelt that right, we'll hopefully see some Western constellations. Hey, look at that. You know what? There's something going on here. It's because the camera... You see how it's all goofy? We are 10 parsecs away from Earth. So it's not really looking right. See, the camera's automatically at -10 and -1. If I go ahead and reset that, we're going to get those nice constellation positions. Okay, there we go. There's a lot of constellations. Beautiful.